Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Teresa. My channel is Teresa's Crafty Cabana. Today I'm going to share with you creative compartmental card making. And I call it this, I wanted to break it down into six steps, what I use to create my cards. The idea behind this is you have this base that you start with. It's the card base. I have these that I got from Michael's. They were just pre-made card bases. I get them in, I pulled out a bunch of different colors, and I even made a couple white ones at the back here. Top folding for my white ones. These others are side A2 sized cards. And the idea behind this compartmental card making is where you will, when you're making something you're in the mood to make, you'll make something like these backgrounds, and maybe that's just all you're going to be making. You may not know what you're going to use them for. I'm thinking of my jelly prints that I've been making recently. This one right here is a jelly print that I made into a little design element. That's a jelly print. This is watercolor. This is the other side of that other jelly print. Another watercolor. This is embossing in watercolor, and another watercolor embellishment. So what I do is when I'm in the mood to craft, I'm not usually making an entire card. So once I get to the point where I'm ready to make a card, I pull out all these elements. So this next element, I have the frames here. This could be squares, circles, actual frames, full frames. The next part I pull out are these little embellishments. Again, these are little pieces that I've either printed and cut, or I use with my stencils and cut out. Some of them are from my silhouette that I've cut and inked up. Some are little Dollar Tree butterflies, little flowers, anything that I have that can act as an embellishment on a card. When I'm in the mood to make, I just make those little things, and then I'll tuck them in this bag. Now, when I'm ready to make a card, I'll pull out some elements from my little embellishment bag and put together what I think would maybe look cute on a card. So I've got my next element here, which is the sentiments, and this is could be backgrounds that have the sentiment on it, could just be the sentiment itself, words, anything like that. I have another baggie where I keep words that I make ahead of time. Sometimes I'll do a little lettering and cut those out. Sometimes I do little background pieces that I can use as my sentiment. So I just kind of keep a little collection here. Last is the icing on top. That's going to be your glitter, your sequins, your Nuovo drops if you have those. I have stickles, anything that's going to add a little sparkle and shine to the top of your card. So these are my card components. I also wanted to share that I use this color coordinated storage that I've gotten from Michael's. It's got all these different colors, and inside each of these compartments, as I make these pieces, I might separate them out by color. I've got some background pieces in here, some little embellishments that I can use on cards. That way, if I want to make a pink coordinated card, I can pull this little piece out and find something to make a card with. I have a yellow one here. I'll just show you real quick. I won't go into all of it, but a little bit of an embossed yellow piece. And you can see there's just yellow components in this one. So getting started, I like to start with my card base, and the next part I do is I kind of go through all those backgrounds that I pulled out that I liked or thought inspired me, maybe made me think of a card that I wanted to make, and I'll just kind of see which card base and which background go well together. And I will say this can be tough because some of the card backgrounds looked really good on multiple card bases, so I was as these colorful ones, as I was putting them next to the backgrounds, I was trying to figure out, do I want something that blends a little bit more, or do I want something that is gonna pop out? So here is an example of blue, and I really wanted this one to pop. I saw this orange and yellow, and I know that goes really good contrasting with the blue here. And I like this sunflower. So this sunflower piece would go really nicely over this. It's just an alcohol inked background. And I could do the two things here. I could put it up against the edge and then it would kind of be a cleaner look, or if I move that sunflower into the center, I would have a little border of that yellow on both sides. So just another idea there. And then all I need is a sentiment, and this card would be pretty much ready to go. So that would be one card right there. Next, I'm going to take this background piece. Has a little bit of gray words in it, so I really like this gray background. But it also has some purple on the side here, so I could use the gray here matches the gray on this background, but this purple here matches one of my other card bases that has a little bit more purple in it. So again, I have to figure out what kind of feeling I want for this card. And I think on this one, the pink goes really nice. I would layer on some of these embellishments. I just kind of pick through my little embellishment bucket. I can always pick out more embellishments if I can't find something that goes with what I'm working on. But again, I'm just kind of compiling. So this is kind of my quick way. If you were just making one card, I would do the same thing and I would just do this same process for just one card. But sometimes if I can sit and make 4 or 5 cards at one time doing the same process, it just makes it so much easier, and I can pick from those cards that are already completed when I need one. So this one is a jelly print that I had cut down, and I used an embossing folder to get that design on there. I'm going to put that one on my top folding white base. Here we have another one. This is another embossed background, but this one I did with watercolors on these leaves, and I really like this little fox. This is from Miss Cake Cuttables. I cut out each of the pieces on Bristol paper and then I watercolored them in and then layered them together, so it's actually pretty thick. I watercolored and stamped these little pumpkins, but I'm not going to use those. I have a little flower. I've got a few more backgrounds here. I'm just showing you my process. I'm not going to turn all of these into cards in this particular video. I'm going to pick some of the ones that I think would make really nice cards for what my situation is right now. But I do have a lot of fun with this part. This is the part where my creative mind just kind of goes to town. This is how I figure out what looks good, what composition I think I would want to go for. I don't know. To me, the fun part is assembling a card, but when I get caught up in all the making of the pieces, it kind of loses the fun for me, but I really enjoy the making of the pieces. So by compartmental making, I can make all these components at different times, and then when I'm ready to assemble something, I'll just see what I have, and magically things just kind of work out. Like this purple here goes really nice. This was an ink blended background, and then I did some hot foiling over the top. That looks really nice. Just gonna go through a few more of these cards, matching with the bases, and pretty much I'll get started on making our cards next. So this is the one that has a lot of colors in it. It could really go well on many backgrounds. I had a yellow there, an orange. Am I going for a bright border, a neutral border? This blue looks really pretty with the blues on here. And then the orange up at the top there is a nice contrasting color. Over here I've got this next piece the other side of that first piece that I had put together. And this one would blend in really well, but it wouldn't pop. It's almost the same color. This pink didn't look so good with it. The green, I wasn't feeling the green. If you notice, there's a little bit of blue on this one, so I pulled that blue card back out. The background on that one matches this card base, I think, a little bit better. And then this one here, I think, goes nicely on one of these green backgrounds, because there's some green in here too. So that's the nice thing. When I use multiple colors, I can pick multiple backgrounds that would all look nice with it. This one's a really bright, fun one. Watercolors on here. These are actually distress reinkers, and I I think this one would also go really nice on a lot of these different backgrounds. As I'm doing this, I am thinking, who would this be for? Would it be for a birthday? Would it be for a thank you? Or for a male, a female? That also helps me figure out what kind of background I would put this on. I hope that this is making sense for you, but this is a really fun process for me, and if you've never tried compartmental card making like this, it's really fun just to make all the elements in advance, just at different times, not focusing on making an actual card, and then the challenge is turning it into a card later. So that's the fun part for me. I think this brightly colored one goes nice with this orange because there's some orange in the middle and it's still bright enough, and I think that goes really nice together. So now I'm going to assemble some of these cards. I'm starting with this purple card, and I'm just going to glue on. This is just a craft piece that I cut a circle out that was smaller than this embellishment, and I'm just going to glue that to my card base. And then for this middle piece, I think I want to pop it up with some foam squares just to give it a little bit of dimension. So when I think about what I want to do as my icing or my topping onto this, I just kind of play with different elements. In this case, I went with a gold leaf pen, and that really matched the words in the middle that were done with the foiling. So that finishes that card. For the next card, I have this blue and green background piece, and I have this circle cut out that I didn't get a whole circle on, but that's okay. This is where I get creative. I had these little arrows with some hearts on them, and I'm going to use that at the base of this to make it look intentional. So even if it's a piece that looks like maybe it wouldn't work, I usually try to find a way to creatively make it work. So on this one, my background is the white top folding card. That's the base. The background is this blue and green piece. Then my sentiment and the frame kind of go together because my sentiment is on my little half circle frame. And then my embellishment is this little heart and arrow. This is my bling, or my little icing that I'm going to put on it. It's just some gold twine. Just cutting that down to the right size. Deciding where I want to put it on the card. I liked it in the middle of this heart, so that's where I'm going to put it. And there we go. Another card done. And this one does have quite a bit of dimension because those pieces are embossed. And then we've got the hot foil and then the embellishments here. Cute card. I love it. And then this next one that I'm going to do is that background and the card base. They didn't have a lot of separation in color or contrast, so I'm just using my black soot distress ink to darken up the edges. So once I've gotten all the edges of the card base, now I can layer on my embellishments and see with my sentiment and my embellishments how I want them to be laid out. I'll just start gluing. I like to just stick to starting to glue. Sometimes if I take too long to glue my pieces down, I want to change it too much. So as soon as I see a layout or a way that I like it, I will just immediately try to start gluing things down so I don't have to change it so many times. And usually my first instinct is my best instinct, and when I take too long and second guess myself, I end up not liking it as much at the end. So these little flower pieces, they're just white cardstock. I don't have anything special on them. I could probably add some glitter or stickles to these if I wanted to dress this up a little bit, but I did end up leaving them just a matte white color. This sentiment is a gold foiled piece that I just had in my stash. One day when I was gold foiling, I just gold foiled a bunch of sentiments, and that's where I have these to pull from. I did think that flower was getting a little bit lost, so I found this colored flower and I decided to put that over on this side, just to have something over here to balance out the card. I'm going through to see what I think I want to do for my bling or my icing on this one, and I ended up going with this gold twine again. I made a really big loopy ribbon for this one. Trimmed off the edges, trimmed them down to fit inside the card, and then just glued the knot down in the center, so they kind of move around a little bit, but I thought it was really fun since it was a long sentiment on this one. That finishes that card. Now for this next one, this is my sunflower card. I will again just start layering up. I'm figuring out, do I want it in the middle? Do I want it on the edge? The sentiment I'm going to use for this one is this die cut thank you. I could use this thinking of you, the colors match, but I really like the pop of this wording on here. So just gluing and putting those down. Again, I'm just gonna get right to gluing my pieces together. And then for the bling on this one, I'm going to use these sequins that have little holographic flakes or glittery flecks in them. And I'm using my glossy accents to attach them to my card base. This one's really fun in the yellow and orange part there. It kind of takes on the color behind it. So I thought I would like that a lot. Now for my little fall card that I have here, I'm just trying to figure out what I like as my assembly, what composition I like here, what looks good. I do like having this show the background a little bit more, so I put that frame up at the top and longwise, when normally I would make it go the same way as the card. So this was a little different for me. Trying to mix it up a little bit. I put some of that twine on the back of this sentiment that says hello fall. Oh, I mean happy fall. My bad. And then I'm going to glue this down. All my layers together. I think it looks like a composition notebook right here. I kind of like it just like this. This would be cute in a little mini album. Place to write some words. I put my frame on a little bit off-centered, so I was able to pull it off because I used the wet glue and recenter it. That gray frame matches that background pretty nicely. And now I'm going to start just layering my pieces on. The little fox, he's going to sit on the outer edge of the frame. And my little flower, it's just going to balance out what's inside that frame. And I think I like the thinking of you at the bottom. It didn't pop a lot, so I didn't add any ink to this, but this is just leftover black soot distress ink that I just inked along the edges, and it looked really nice. It actually looked almost gray, like a charcoal color. So for this layering process, this card I finished with my embellishments. I had quite a few more embellishments on this one and 2 sentiments. So the idea here is it's really just getting creative. When I'm making a card with someone in mind, I take a totally different approach than when I make a card this way. When I'm just in the mood to make and I'm compartmental making, it's just so much fun to see what do I have that I made that at the time I was so excited about, and then how can I take that and turn it into a completed piece. And then when I want a card, then I have some cards ready. I just think it's a totally different way of making cards than intentionally setting out with the design in mind and then creating each of the elements as you go. I really hope you enjoyed this technique, and if you have anything that you'd like to try when you're making your cards, I'd love to hear your tips. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.